right, good evening everyone. Welcome to NewSpace NYC Business Plan Competition. Tonight we are here to celebrate space exploration, and commercialization of space. I would like to acknowledge the presence of our judges and thanking them for being here with us. In alphabetical order, we have Chris Anderson from Space Angels Network, Josh Bannerman, Bessemer Venture Partners, Chris Cummins from NanoRacks, Jared Schneider from BAE Systems, retired, and Jerome Wang, Angelus Funding. So let's give a round of applause to our judges. I would like to invite Khaki Rodway, co-founder of NewSpace NYC, to join us and speak a little bit about what we're doing.
Thank you all for coming. We are NewSpace NYC. I want everyone who is a part of NewSpace NYC and doing things with us to stand up, raise their hand. Mike, so there we go. So that's us. We are a group. So we are building a community here in New York, which is kind of unique because you don't think of New York as being a space place. But believe it or not, as you can see around the room, there's a lot of people who are interested in space and want to talk about it, want to get together and do activities like we're doing. So this is actually our third business plan competition that we've done. We like to call it Space Shark, and put the competitors in front of lots of hard questions and critical analysis. So we're really excited to have the Space Frontier Foundation here to bring it to a national level and to, kind of get it to the next phase. We also do panel presentations. We have what we call a Space Talk Fridays. So pretty much every Friday we get together here or in this conference room, but here at CSL, and have informal talks, and that spans the gamut of scientists, people in the industry, both traditional space and new space. We are very inclusive. We have government as well. we don't hold back on those folks. So we want everybody to come in. We want to break the boundaries. We want to break not only the boundaries of Earth and Earth orbit, but the boundaries between the industries and ourselves, and open it up and talk about it. That's all I'm going to say. I think we're going to have Tom Olson from Space Frontier Foundation come and talk about actually just why we're here tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, Khaki.
Sure.
As Khaki mentioned, we're going to have Tom Olson from NewSpace NYC, Space Frontier Foundation, and now NewSpace Business Plan Competition.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming. You know, there is your work, and then there is your life's work. The kind of thing that you sometimes have to sacrifice family time for, the kind of things you sacrifice your weekends for, the kind of thing that haunts your thoughts and haunts your dreams every minute of every day. This is what we do here. This is how we roll. Welcome to the NewSpace Business Plan Competition. There are entrepreneurs in this room today. What do entrepreneurs do? They solve problems. They solve problems in a way that adds value to the human race. They solve the kinds of problems that we want to solve so our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren can prosper and have more ability and have more choices than we have today. This is why we're here. The NewSpace Business Plan Competition was designed to showcase a lot of great new startup and early stage companies that are coming in, getting into the new space sector and solving all sorts of problems. These are people who have given up a lot and will continue to sacrifice a lot to do what they do. And we're here to support them and to acknowledge what they do. And we have some great judges here today. I've seen where they're from. This is amazing. The financial community is here in great support. NewSpace Global is here doing some media. Thank you so much for coming. We need all of this. because this is how we build our future in space. This is the first of a series of preliminary events for the National NewSpace Business Plan Competition. There's money on the line, not a huge amount, more comes later, but the first place winner tonight is going to get $2,500 courtesy of the Highline Prize Trust. And in addition, they're going to get to go to the final competition this coming summer on the West Coast. So good luck to all of you. Welcome, support everybody, because everybody has a shot at this, and we're building amazing things. Thank you for joining us.
And just want to acknowledge the support of the Digital Vikings, the Columbus Startup Lab, Pixum, and Internet Society, who's providing the recording. Thanks, Jolly. Tonight, as Tom mentioned, we're going to select the representative of the Northeastern region to represent our organization and to represent our region in the national competition in Seattle for next summer. We're pleased to have been able to select 3 very special companies to present tonight. They come from as far as Canada. We have 2 local competitors, and we're going to start with Kepler. Thank you very much.
Malaysian Airlines needs no introduction. This infamous aircraft cost the lives of over 200 passengers and cost more than $90 million in search efforts alone. And so a year after this incident happened, we ask ourselves the question, how is it possible that in today's modern age, our interconnected age, we can actually lose an aircraft? Well, the answer is pretty simple, and that's because we rely on ground-based technology, ground-based radar, in order to track aircrafts. And this technology is completely ineffective a few hundred nautical miles out from a ground station. And what this means is that when you're flying over the Atlantic or over the Pacific, nobody has any idea where you are. So the next logical thing is satellites. Satellites are the only way that we can achieve a global picture of where these aircraft are. But satellites themselves have a fundamental limitation, and that is when an aircraft wants to pass its information up to a satellite, the satellite needs to travel around the world and downlink its information when it's within line of sight of a ground station. What this translates to is only 2 hours a day for a satellite in low Earth orbit with one ground station is it able to downlink information or uplink commands. There is no real-time data link that exists between a ground station operator and their space assets. And this is simply not good enough for applications that demand real-time access to spacecraft. So how do we solve this problem? Well, what if we did something that we've already done here on Earth? What if we did something that's led to the proliferation of mobile telecommunications that we all take for granted today? What if we built infrastructure in space? What if we built a cell tower in space? A network of satellites that other satellites can relay their data through, and they can get it down to a ground station in real time, providing that 24-hour connectivity that is in vast demands for applications like aircraft tracking. This is our vision. It's a constellation of satellites, 50 satellites, that is going to solve the aircraft tracking problem. That's going to give us a tool in the infrastructure and able to create a map in real time of global emissions monitoring. It's going to give satellite operators the ability to connect with their assets in real time for command and control. Now, why today? I think everyone in this room, or the majority of people in this room, have seen a plot that looks similar to this. This is the number of satellites that are going up every year, and these satellites are going up exponentially fast. Driven by standardization and miniaturization, not only are the number of satellites going up, but the amount of data that these satellites are both generating and attempting to bring down is also going up quickly. And every single one of these satellites that are going up, they face this same bottleneck. They cannot get their information down in real time. So, well, satellites exist now. We all use GPS. We all use Google Maps. How is it that we get our data down now? And why haven't we solved this problem? Well, we get our data down in one of 2 different ways. The first way is that we'll put up ground stations. We will spatter the Earth in ground stations trying to close this latency gap. But the problem is that for satellites in low Earth orbit, you cannot physically put up enough ground stations in order to cover the entire planet. There's too much ocean. And so for the best networks that exist that are going to be only deployed in 2017, what this translates to is about 10 hours a day where you can actually communicate with your satellites with latencies that range between 10 and 40 minutes. This is simply not good enough for real-time applications. So the next logical choice is, well, why don't we use communication satellites? These large monolithic mainframes in the sky, they exist currently and they're providing communication services. The problem is that these are based on 15-year-old technologies because they have 15-year design cycles and they cost tens of millions of dollars to build. They simply don't have the data rates in order to service this need. And moreover, because they have these long design cycles, you can't scale this infrastructure. You can't scale it to meet demands. And this is insufficient. So our solution is the Kepler CubeSat. This is our space cell phone tower. We're all familiar with the CubeSat platform. These are small, low-cost platforms that allows us to achieve scalability. This allows us, by using this platform, we're not afraid to use today's technology, and that allows us to get high data rates. Today's technology, like phased array antennas, which we've currently developed for applications for nanosatellites. So, how does this compare to the current existing paradigm? If we look at ground stations on the left, while they're able to achieve the very fast data rates, they simply don't have that global coverage that we need. And conversely, the traditional large satellites, while they're able to have that global coverage, they simply can't provide that data rate because they're not a scalable technology. Conversely, if we're using a constellation of small satellites, we're able to achieve both the high data rates as well as the global connectivity. And letter of intent after letter of intent, this resonates well with our customers. People that are saying that they see an application for this, that will not only affect their bottom line, but it'll improve their operations as a company. So how does the market look? We charge our customers as a pay-as-you-go model, similar to a mobile subscriber. For $20 a minute, which is currently the going rate for connecting to a ground station, if we assume some nominal communications time of 5%, what this translates to is $50,000 per month per customer that we're generating in revenue. And if we scale this out to 2020, when 500 of these nanosatellites and small satellites are going to be launched, we have the potential of reaching 200 million in annual recurring revenues. But by itself, this is insufficient. The reason this is insufficient is because we understand that an infrastructure project, particularly a space infrastructure project, the market is going to lag development. The market is going to lag us developing this infrastructure. And so in order to address this, we need to make this space scalable. So the first thing that we're going to do is we launch one satellite. With a single satellite, we can address terrestrial needs. We can provide store and forward data services for polar applications, transporting high volumes of data from these underserved regions. With 10 satellites in orbit, as we scale up, we're able to achieve data backhaul services, as well as Arctic and polar broadband services, providing a much needed connectivity or increased connectivity for these underserved regions. Now, where have we come and how are we getting here? We started this venture in May of 2015, where each of our 4 founders left their full-time jobs in order to pursue this venture. We filed a provisional patent over the summer. We signed a number of research agreements with academia in order to help develop some of our core technologies. We submitted a $300,000 application to the Canadian Space Agency, and as well, we developed some of our core technology. This is our phased array antennas, up to TRL level 4. Right now, we've opened up a $1.5 million seed round financing on a Y Combinator safe. And I'm very happy to say that our lead investor on this round is actually one of our first customers as well. Going forward, we're going to be signing launch contracts as well as customer contracts. And we're going to be working towards launching our technology demonstration mission. This is going to be 2 satellites in orbit that are going to provide not only a demonstration of our capabilities as a network, but also this store and forward data service. So we're going to be generating $4 million in revenue on these 2 satellites. After this, we're going to go for our $30 million Series A round of financing, and this is going to allow us to start deploying our network, generating between 50 and 200 million in annual recurring revenues, as I was mentioning earlier. Now, why do we have the capabilities to take on this lofty project? We have the capabilities because we have the best possible team. We have PhDs in computer networks, in telecommunications, in spacecraft design, in spacecraft electronics, in business development. And more importantly, we're advised by a board of advisors with over 60 years of experience, both in the telecommunications industry and the space industry, as well as those with past startup experience. So with that, we are Kepler Communications. We're here to provide real-time access to space, and I look forward to your questions.
We have 10 minutes for questions from the viewers.
So is the primary market aircraft tracking or all sorts of data?
Right. No, very good question. So the aircraft tracking is really something that we see as an absolute immediate need. It's not possible to serve the aircraft tracking market without this real-time data link. And so this is really, to us, it's an anchor tenant for this real-time application. But more importantly than that, there's a whole host of applications that you can have from this real-time data link. So for example, I think recently there was a Kickstarter campaign from a company, Space VR. And these guys, their whole business model is based on being able to access their virtual reality platform in real time. A virtual reality platform is not overly useful if it's not in real time. If you want to do things like ship tracking, or if you want to even be able, something as simple as being able to go to Google Maps and have a live image. This is something that our infrastructure would enable people to do. So the aircraft tracking is one of the applications that we see with this infrastructure existing. It's by no means the only one.
Are your satellites picking up signals from aircraft and assets on the ground, or are they picking up signals from other satellites?
From other satellites.
What do the other satellites need to be able to communicate with you?
Right, great question. So actually, that is what our TRL level 4 is for. So what we're doing is we're actually designing effectively a modem. It's sort of like a SIM card for satellites. And it's something, it's about 10 by 10. And what that 10 by 10 by about 2 millimeters. And what that's going to allow satellites to do is connect to our network. So if they're putting this piece of hardware on their spacecraft, they're going to be able to connect to our network. But more importantly than that, this by itself is a standalone product. The reason it's a standalone product is because this will actually increase the data rates that they can communicate to a ground station with. So we're actually looking to sell this product before we start deploying our network. And what this, sorry, go ahead.
It's a much different approach than your competitors. So you're talking about raising your 30 million and getting your satellites, start developing your satellites in 2020. But spaceflight's going to have a whole lot of ground stations and be offering a real near-time access for the same price that you're charging many years earlier. And also, they don't force standardization on their clients. So they're working with the radios that
that they're already using, actually. Yeah. So that's a really good point. And the key differential is the real time. That is the value proposition that we're adding, or the value that we're adding. So no matter what spaceflight does, they can't get real time. It's physically impossible. You can't put a ground station in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, for example. While spaceflight is able to shrink their latency gap, and as I mentioned, that 10 to 40 minutes latency gap, that is what they're going to have with their best network, with the network that is basically covering the entire planet. And so for these applications that demand instantaneously, they can't serve that need.
So I'm missing a link then in your system. So are your satellites linked? Is it a network of satellites?
Yes.
And you're doing this with lasers?
No, we're not. It's in RF.
Okay. It's a long distance to be traveling between 50 satellites.
It's a very good question.
Right?
It's a very good point. So actually, when we did consider it, when we went down the trade study, if you want to do things like be able to communicate with simultaneous people, laser-based communications simply doesn't work. You can't rapidly switch between multiple users. And for us, that was really the big bottleneck. So we knew that no matter what we had to do, we had to develop the high data rate RF technology. That was an absolute need. And so that's the path that we began exploring.
So when you brought up that side of LOIs, are you selling now? Are you speaking with customers that are satellite operators? Or are you speaking with their customers? Who are you directly?
Those LOIs were directly from satellite operators. These were satellite operators who said that this service would be beneficial for their operations.
Do you have an understanding of how they would have to rework their engineering in order to fit your terminal? So
we're working with a couple companies right now for hosted payloads for this satellite. So there's three different, for this modem. So there's three different companies that I can't say publicly, but there's 3 different companies that we're working with right now who are looking to fly this as a hosted payload, and that's going to flush out, okay, how do we actually do the integration on this specific modem. The premise is that it's as simple as switching out the SIM card on your phone is sort of the level that we want to get to with this.
What are you doing in the regulatory area to make sure that you have?
Very great question. So that was actually the very first thing that regulatory is always a hassle. That was the absolute first thing that we started working on. We knew that was going to be a problem, or not a problem, a challenge. So the first thing that we started doing was getting on the phone with Industry Canada, our the equivalent of SEC, and begin working that through. So that is in process right now. It's obviously an ongoing process, but we're working through it. As I said, it was the absolute first thing that we worked on.
So you have waveforms and frequencies for your inter-satellite links, as well as different waveforms and freaks for your customer.
Yep.
And, okay, so what's your plan or timescale to get beyond TRL4 for this antenna?
Right, so the way a couple answers to that question. The way we're developing our technology is very much an agile paradigm. It's rapid design cycles. So this current iteration that we have, we actually built it in 3 weeks. So we went from schematics to in hand in 3 weeks. That's how fast we're able to sort of iterate on our products. What we're looking to do, as I said, we're talking with a number of hosted payload partners. And so our schedule right now is to have this thing in orbit as a hosted payload before we do our technology demonstration mission, to have this as a hosted payload mission by the end of 2016. And so after 2016 is when we're going to be able to start selling this as a standalone product.
I think just last question for you.
Yeah.
How many, you want to go to market in 1 or 2 years, let's say. How many satellite operators are there in 2 years?
Current projections is that by 2017, there's going to be on the order of 200 to 300 of these form factor satellites being launched. Now, as I mentioned, go to market for us is sort of a 2-tiered stream.
The question is, how much do you think that you can charge the 200 to 300 satellite operators to justify 50 or 200 million?
In revenue? Oh, I see what you're saying. So that was based on an assumption of 300 by 2020. But that's also including the terrestrial applications that we're serving as well. So that's including the data backhaul services, the broadband services, as well as the store and forward services. As I mentioned, we do see that there is going to be that lag between when people want the service and when it's actually available. And so in order to close that business case, we're looking at terrestrial applications that have an immediate need.
Okay, so unfortunately we have to move on. But thank you very much, Jeff, for
Thank you.
being with us. And next, we'd like to invite Chris Craddock from Rocketstar to make a presentation.
Thanks, Mike. So my name is Christopher Craddock, along with David Peebler and Mike Cassandra. We are Rocketstar. And we're coming to you today to talk about the holy grail of the space industry, which is reusability. Because without reusability, you cannot get access to the exponential ecosystem that is space travel. Without being able to go out and come back, there's no use to even bother to go up there. So I want to turn this over to Dave Peebler quick to start going to how we're going to get that together.
Okay, what we are is a satellite launch provider. We are using our proprietary Aerospike propulsion technology and to launch small satellites into LEO. We're going to show you today how this turnkey launch system is in incredible demand. The growth in CubeSats, which is just one small segment of the small sat market, this is actual launches. You can see a 4x launch between 2012 and 2013. And the entire small, micro, and nano market is going to absolutely take off. We had a little dip in 2015. We had a couple of explosions and some failures to launch. But as you see, it hasn't taken away from the market that exists now. We have no lag in our market. Our market exists now, and the demand is unfillable. There's virtually exponential demand that we're faced with. Tom Marcusic, the CEO of Firefly, has stated just last week that by 2020 there will be more than 2,000 small satellites to be launched.
So I want to go over now with you where we are, where we've been, and where we're going. Concept to launch, which will be in the next 3 weeks, is just under 17 months for about 50 grand. We expect the next phase to cost us between 120 and 250,000. That'll get us to TRL 8 and get us up over the Kármán line. By that point, we'll be able to collect initial deposits for our customers that we're in conversations with, and that'll put us into the suborbital launch category by 2017. So I want to turn this over to Mike, because a lot of this was his idea.
So like he said, we are launching our first sounding rocket within the next 3 weeks from Kennedy Space Center. We'll be launching hopefully off pad 39C, which you can see in the top picture there. Our rocket, codenamed the Chopper, mostly so we could say get to the Chopper when we invite people to the launch. Stands at 5 feet tall. It is going to hit a top max altitude of 15,000 feet, and we will break the sound barrier with it. We have 2 subcontractors that we're working with to build this. It's already done. This is a picture of it unpainted here. That's Trailblazer Technologies and Micro Aerospace. Combined, they have roughly 50 years of experience in aerospace fabrications, mostly for defense purposes, also with NASA. Trailblazer worked with NASA on the space shuttle. So this is going to happen within the next 3 weeks.
This is a quick snapshot of the clients that we can actually talk about. Planet Labs has told us they'll take 10 rides at $1 million a pop once we can get through flight testing. United Launch Alliance we're meeting with on November 12th to talk to their advanced propulsion side of it to design a single stage to orbit launcher with them. DSI has given us a letter of intent towards 150 kilogram payload. Tricep will take 250 kilograms. Department of Defense and Stratcom have already started talks with us. NanoX, we're working with Rich Purnell over there to satisfy launch requirements. And Escape Dynamics is working with us to develop a couple of engines for their upcoming shuttlecraft in the 2020s. Joint ventures, we're in initial talks with Escape Dynamics and Firefly to work with them. We really don't want to be competitors. We want to be collaborating with them less than competing with them, because we're all going to have a lot of business once it starts opening up and it becomes reusable. I want to have people that can shuffle this off to if I can't handle the business. Stony Brook University is helping us not only with the research, but the continuing research towards a patent. We feel that we have some technology that I can't really talk about here that can make it even more effective over 35 kilometers. Four Frontiers is developing a launch service platform with us. They have a few finance options right now we're discussing with them. That is slated to be functional by 2016. And this is just a snapshot of our launch partners. Micro Aerospace Solutions has over 15 years in the business dealing with NASA and subcontractor within the aerospace field. Trailblazer has been doing it, 43, 44 years. They've worked with the DoD, missile defense strategies, and you name it, they've pretty much done it. Kennedy Space Center, working with closely for a number of reasons, one of them being press, and Dave has kind of helped us with that, along with that. But they also have the ability to help us get through the TRL levels. Because right now we're at right around 4 or 5. Once we go through the shake testing and drop testing on some of our bigger rockets, we'll be in the 7s and 8s, and of course getting up above 100 kilometers. I'll turn this over to you, Dave.
So one of the things we were asked to do is talk about sales and marketing, and NewSpace in general, by the way, we believe should have non-traditional marketing. We're not going to take out billboards. We're not going to take out necessarily at this point ads in magazines. That just doesn't work anymore. What we really see as working on the marketing side is the experiential. It's creating experiences that bond ourselves with our clients, with the people that support us and friends of the company. And that will play out over time. The best experience that we can have is a launch. There are many players in this business, players that have been around in one particular instance for 18 years, others that have been around close to a decade that have not yet had a launch. They're highly capitalized companies and they haven't had a launch for whatever reason. I won't speculate on that. We are going to have a launch in 3 weeks. We're going to have a launch next year. And through those launches, we're going to leverage and generate as much buzz as possible. which is why Kennedy Space Center is so important. Every detail of our launch is important in terms of building brand awareness. And we have done, I think, a very good job in the past 9 months of using social media. We have going on 6,000 really, really kind of fervent supporters of us that love space, love what we're doing, and love how we're moving forward with everything. There's luminaries there, there's astronauts, there's people at NASA, competitors, and people in the space industry in general. So that's really been fairly successful. On the sales, it's simply tapping into the demand. The demand is unfillable at this particular stage in the game. And unless things change dramatically, which we're hoping to be a cog in that particular wheel, that unfulfilled demand is going to be around for quite a while. If you're looking at 2,000 launches by 2020 based on current capabilities, it's just, that's the demand, and hopefully it will get filled. The strategic relationships that we have are very important, because through that pipeline, the network that we've created, the ecosystem that we've created, the sales are built into that and the demand. So we have done a lot of our sales work up front, at least for the next few years.
These are engineers at Stony Brook, and also some of the engineers that we tap for, to be kind of the tip of the spear, so we understand what the market is looking for. The bottom three are all geologists. Tim is working on a lunar reconnaissance orbiter discovering water on the moon. The other two have discovered water on Mars. The top two are managing most of the research going on at Stony Brook. Next slide. These are our advisors for both business development as well as a relationship standpoint. Rob Briskman is a founding member of NASA, as one of the original 11 members, and he's also co-founder of SiriusXM Radio.
We're going to pass up on this because of time, but we have done our strength, opportunities, weaknesses, and threats, and we can go over that at some other time.
We're seeking at this point, for this particular milestone, $250,000 for a 10% stake in the company. That will get us to suborbital and beyond, and we'll take care of marketing costs to the next level of our suborbital launch vehicle. And that's it.
How much is that $250,000 last year?
End of 2016, early 17. Yeah, we're lean and mean. We move very fast and we move very quickly.
About 17 months ago, someone said, "How much do you need?" And we said, $250,000 at the time. And they said, "There's no way you can do it for $250,000." And we said, "Well, we're going to," and we have done what we've done for $50,000. Just up until now, for 17 months, we spent $50,000 to get everything done where we are now, to launch a rocket.
Good point, thank you.
So 250 gets you to suborbital, is that right?
No, it gets us over the Kármán line, so technically it'll be orbital on the second launch.
I'm going to asterisk this with the caveat that we're investors in Rocket Lab, so it's completely biased.
No, it's Peter Beck, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's right.
I met him in Utah. He was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So understand what the market looks like now in terms of demand and the bottleneck on launch. You're not the only team going after this opportunity, especially after the contracts last week. And I pulled up on my phone. So last week at the International Astronautical Congress, you had CubeCap, Dynetics, Interstellar Technologies, Blue Star, all jump into this. I'm sure there are many others that didn't make announcements. Do you rely on the fact that despite all this competitive pressure that's coming into the market, a few years from now, we're still going to have exponential growth in CubeSats that's not fulfilled? How do you, the current market dynamics notwithstanding, how do you sustain competitive advantage in a market that's being flooded with competition?
Dave, I feel like you want to take that one.
Yeah, I'll take it. We are going to do it a number of ways. Number one, we feel that we're just ahead of the game. So as kind of a first mover that's actually getting a rocket up, if there were if it was crowded with people that had gotten rockets up, it would be a different situation for us. So how do we keep that competitive advantage? We have a lot of stuff that's in the pipeline that we can't talk about now, but we are looking 10 years into the future in terms of our development of our technology and development of the platform itself. So we are just going to try to stay enough ahead where that demand we can take in as much as we can. I mean, the demand we don't see, and this is just personal opinion, we can't point to any facts, there are none, but we see that bottleneck being there for at least 5 years. Unless people can come into the market and get rockets up faster than has happened so far. But if you look at historical record, they might just be getting their first rockets up in 4 or 5 years. So I think by us just moving quicker, faster, leaner, meaner, and being able to take money and use it really smartly is going to keep us ahead of the game.
Just to jump in on that.
Yeah.
The key word as before, reusability. 6-day turnaround on one aircraft.
How much is one lot? What payload are you trying to carry?
For the bigger rocket, we're looking for 150 to 200 kilograms.
How much do you want that to cost?
As of right now, we've been talking to customers. The only one that's come to the table is Planet Labs, and they've issued a $1 million per 150 kilogram payload. So that brings us down to what? I can't do the math that quickly, I apologize. Yeah.
So each launch is going to cost you less than $1 million.
Correct. After we get the first one up, it'll cost between 120 to 200,000 for fuel and refurbishing.
How much to manufacture?
Pardon me, I'm sorry?
How much to build it?
How much to build it? $2.5 million for the largest rocket.
What changed to allow you to go ahead with aerospike technology?
Thermal capability and better materials.
And where did that research and engineering come from? Is that centered around Stony Brook?
Yes, we did a feasibility study with Stony Brook to make sure that we weren't just blowing smoke, and they found that it's possible. And then we did a comparative analysis between a Bell engine and a aerospike through computational fluid dynamics with them. They've since determined that their design works up to 35 kilometers. Anything above that, it's the same as a Bell nozzle, but that's stage 3 we're working on an ablative aerospike that would change that even further.
So it's up to 35 clicks.
Yes. Anything above that in an aerospike is basically the same as a Bell nozzle, but most of your thrust and most of your power comes on the launch pad anyway. You need to be better down there than you would a Bell nozzle. So we save between 40 and 60% between weight and thrust savings.
Your rocket's fully reusable?
Yes,
3 stages. You were just talking about.
single stage.
Single stage. So it's a rocket, it shoots up and it comes back down, and how does it land and get refueled?
Currently, we're looking at dropping it in the ocean, having it hermetically sealed with all the ports and everything that deploy the CubeSats, fishing it out with the Coast Guard, refurbish, reuse. Working with planetary systems.
Sounds like it would cost $120,000 just to get the Coast Guard out to fish it out.
Not if we have a long-term contract with Kennedy. We have a CSFL, I think is the acronym for the Space Act that they want us to use on this particular one.
Why is it that Musk can't do it? And why is it that you will be able to?
Sure.
The problem with those companies, other companies that are out there right now, up to and including Firefly, who is also looking at an aerospike, is that they have already invested too much in the infrastructure that they have to be able to change to adapt to the technology that we're going to be using. They're already set up fabricators for the 3D printing for their Bell nozzles. They've already set up all their manufacturing, and it would cost them more money to turn around and rebuild in order to do what we're doing now than it would cost us to build from scratch.
They'd have to redesign everything that they have planned, for the next 5 years.
Disrupting the disruptors.
What are your plans if your first rocket fails?
Build another one. We can do a...
But do you have it instrumented, and can you figure out why it failed?
Yes, we have full instrumentation, flight computers, altimeters, whatever have you right now. It's being built into the initial prototype. The larger ones obviously will have better ones. We're talking with, I forgot the name of the company. They're out in California. It starts with an E, but for the same reason, we want to have full documentation of flight capability. Yes, ecliptic. Thank you. No, okay.
And when do you want to have the first full payload flight?
Ideally, by September 17, but I'm hoping we can push them quicker. It all depends on how much work they have as a subcontractor and how much money we have available to us.
Just to go back to the question about what happens if we have a catastrophic first launch, our engine's 3D printed. That is something that's really significant, and we haven't really spent a lot of time on that, but that alone is significant because you've heard about companies that want to do that. We've done it. Now, it's a smaller rocket, but we've done it. So what we would do is we would look at the metrics of what happened, find out what happened, and then just print another engine and get it up very, very quickly. When people see how fast we're going to get our rockets up, they're going to go, holy crap, because it does not exist right now.
You don't know of any other companies doing a 3D printed engine?
None. But a whole bunch want to.
None that are presently.
There's
presently printing.
Well, no, Bag of Eve is, but they're not doing that well.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
The last one I saw, they were
realistic ones.
Yeah.
Ones that work.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Just a couple of words about the ground testing you're performing up until your launch in 3 weeks and subsequent launches.
Yeah, we have a call with NASA on Monday to talk about test firing capabilities. We plan to do at least 2, maybe 3 test fires before we go up, so we're not embarrassed when all the companies come down to take a look. Discovery Channel's coming down, so we want to look good. Yeah, so we're going to do a lot extensive testing through Trailblazer to make sure that it works before it flies.
Thank you.
Are you going through some sort of NASA safety process? Where are you in that?
Yeah, we have Amy Hautz-Gilfrisch, I wish she would shorten her name, is covering all of that down there at NASA Kennedy and just kind of running us through the checklist.
Do you have to pay for, so your launch in 3 weeks, do you have to pay for all the range?
Yeah, we have to pay for all the fees associated with that. The people come in and check the ordnance, deliver the ordnance. They're trying to find ways, because it's only a 5-foot rocket, it's not a 90-foot rocket, to kind of discount that for us. But their subcontractors are already pre-negotiated, so they may have to do something where it's like a pay-as-you-go sort of thing.
Okay.
All good?
About questions from the audience, we will have time during the deliberations of the judges for you to interact with the participants and competitors. So last but not least, we're gonna invite Sean O'Reilly from Food by Printing. And just for full disclosure, Sean is one of the founding members of NewSpace NYC, and with whom we have a formal relationship, but he has been asked to step out of the room when we had discussions about the judges, about the judging criteria. Even though he has helped put together this event, he was not involved in those elements of the discussions. Thank you very much, John.
Good evening, NewSpace. I'm Sean O'Reilly, CEO of Food by Print, the maker of the Chefy, a robotic chef who makes gourmet meals for Earth and zero gravity. We're seeking $10 million for a 30% equity stake in our company. How did we come up with the Chefy? I'm passionate about robotics, automation, food, and space. Met my partners, James and Maurice at Alpha One Labs, who told me about their idea for a food prep system similar to an idea that I already had. I thought this was a great opportunity to combine my experience, expertise, and passions to make something cool and solve a problem. We need good food here and in space. Grab-and-go culture has to go. Over 30% of the US is obese. We need fresh, wholesome food. We need help in the kitchen to make it faster and easier. We need more variety of recipes without needing a variety of skills. The time of the voice-commanded, zero-gravity robotic chef is here. It's 2015. We need to be able to say, Chefy, make me a veggie curry and coconut rice. Our value proposition: the Chefy robotic chef cooks for you, prepares fresh meals from scratch. It suggests foods based on your biofeedback. It chops, mixes, and dispenses ingredients, automatically cleans dishes, shares recipes online, and we have a zero gravity safe methods that we've been developing.
Our biofeedback technology will sense what vitamins and minerals a person needs and offer recipes in those nutrients. And yes, we've included the kitchen sink. The underlying magic to our invention here is we use input, which would be a cup or a sensor in your toilet to kind of complete the cycle. There'll be users submitting recipes to an internet marketplace. We'll have a touchscreen recipe database that you can choose from thousands of recipes. We're using a Raspberry Pi with CNC stepper motors to control a robotic arm that picks up a plate, cups, or dry goods, and then picks ingredients from the tube dispensers that we've developed. We have one of them here from our early prototype. This is a space-saving design that we've created that you can fill this up with peanut butter jelly, all types of recipes, and squeeze them together in an array. So for an example, we could put Nutella in here, have some crackers, dispense the crackers onto a plate, and the plate moves around instead of the nozzle moving around, giving us the ability to create an array of 50 to 100 ingredients, as well as spices. The chefy will also be able to chop, slice, grate, turn, stir, fry, blend, and make dumplings. We'll have it pack and seal and freeze and be able to take those meals out and cook them again. Our zero gravity baths will allow hot oil, hot water, or steam to be rotated to create a bubble inside where the food will go. Our business model, first we're partnering with chefs to build a recipe database. We're pitching to private space companies for the pro version, small shops and schools for the consumer version. Phase 2, we'll have a home version directly for consumers. We'll offer subscription chef packs from tested recipes. A chef pack is an assortment of ready-made cylinders containing all the ingredients needed for gourmet recipes and the robot's commands. Plug and eat, but don't play with your food. Just kidding. Play with your food, you know the astronauts do. Our go-to market plan, it's happening. We have a chef already on board, and we're looking for a couple more. New chefs love technology. We have licensing incentives for the chefs. They get paid when we use their recipe in a chef pack. The chefy has already debuted at World Maker Faire and will be traveling around to other events and entering competitions. This is our zero to low-cost initial marketing strategy. As we grow, we will reach out to more space companies, chefs, and consumers around the world. In our competitive analysis, there is no other complete kitchen replacement. None of them are designed for space. Nice. Our team consists of myself, James, and Maurice. We met at Alpha One Labs. We all have complementing skills. James does law. I do engineering. Maurice is an inventor, bringing a lot of products to market. We are ready to launch to success. Our financial key metrics, after several rounds of prototypes, we expect to sell 300 units in the first year and grow steadily into a multi-million-dollar business. The food tech industry is currently a $50 billion industry, growing at a rate of 15% year over year. Our timeline, we are off to an exciting start. We are, we got our first investment in September. We built our first prototype. We exhibited it at Maker Faire. We got accepted to an accelerator recently. We also got some new desk space. We're collecting pre-sales. We have a chef that is most likely going to buy one. We're building our second MVP, and we'll have a food tasting event very soon. We're selling prototypes and going to become full-time on this. So get ready to command your robot. Chefy, make me a...
Curry. Banana smoothie.
Yeah, thank you.
You started with with the assumption. By the way, I loved your pitch. This is fantastic. Like everyone wants one of these, and I want it on my spaceship even more. But you started with, people need to be healthier. Obesity is a problem. But we're really close to 3D printing our first steak, like for consumers. And I don't want to eat that, really.
No.
I don't want to eat most of the food that's made in America, really.
Right. Yeah.
So is there like any study or anything that you can point to that says that 3D printed food or 3D printed vitamins in a stack would be healthy?
Well, 3D printing is only one technology of our system. We're using a robotic hand to use, like, for hamburgers, meat patties will be dispensed from a dispenser.
Okay.
Steaks can be sliced into prepackaged slices and dispensed that way. We're not using any type of molecular changing of that. The extrude, we have different sizes of extruders. Our extruders are mainly for just depositing the materials, like more bulkier materials like dumpling filling or like dough. We'll be able to cook
Got it.
pizzas.
It's like you
things
said
that.
with the cracker. It's like you're
Yeah,
not printing crackers.
it's not just
you're
a
like
tiny
dispensing
thing.
a cracker.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's a combination of things.
So you have the hot little area and the cold ingredients area. Where's that stored? I mean, you don't need a big refrigerator. And
So we developed a outer ring on the tube that is liquid cooled. So that's one of our technologies. We're developing a newer technology that may just put the tubes into a refrigerator. So the tubes will be in a refrigerated compartment that you change.
right, but if I have 100 ingredients of hot and 100 cold, and how long is that going to last if I'm going to make 3 meals a day? And
It'll last the cycle of a refrigerator. We want to replace the kitchen.
I don't have 100 ingredients in my refrigerator.
Aren't you also replacing the chef
Things.
and
Yeah,
asking them to participate?
totally. I mean,
Okay.
they'll be able to create new recipes. So replacing them at the kitchen, creating new jobs for them for
Yeah,
creating these
you're
pans.
taking like the passion out of like the putting it into the food, and you're like turning them into a mechanic.
You're stuffing
Well,
tubes.
we'll be able to program techniques into the system. If a chef has a signature technique, we could have a triple flip or something like that, maybe.
So you mentioned something about creating a bubble with different ingredients.
So as you know, in space, water just stays in a bubble. You put an Alka-Seltzer, things don't come off, they stay inside. So we'll have to simulate gravity and spin the water around, creating a separation between the steam and the water.
Okay, I need to wrap my head around that a little bit. How are you going to accomplish that kind of testing? If you want
We're going
this
to
thing
do
work?
extreme tests with gravity. So one of our tests that we'll be conducting is creating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich upside down. We're going to have a vacuum bed hold the bread, and then the nozzle will be upside down, printing the peanut butter onto the bread. Jelly might be a little more tricky. We might have to change the viscosity of it, but our tubes will be the ingredients will be able to stay together more.
So are there any plans for like doing zero gravity flights, the parabolic flights out of
We're preparing to
Canada?
send one to the ISS.
You're looking for $10 million for a third of the company. So how'd you get to the $30 million valuation?
Through our sales projections.
Have you looked at the logistics at all for supplying these things up to a remote location, the station or something else?
Well, I mean, I've been to NewSpace talks with Rocketstar, and they will be able to do those types of things, and we'll just piggyback onto a company doing it already.
How much do one of these things cost?
Our pro version is $9,000, and our consumer version is $3,000.
You
and
had
we
that on
wanna
the
get
slide,
lower.
sorry. Yeah. No, I mean on a previous slide, I just, sorry.
Zero.
Yeah. Geez, so how many? If it has like hundreds of ingredients, that's great because I love choice. But like how much? So it's 9,000 to buy, but then how much is it to maintain? For like an average household of 3.
Wouldn't. It would be like a washing machine. You may need a specialist to come by, which would be an hourly rate. And the parts we're using mostly off-the-shelf parts. I've been purposely avoiding 3D printed parts, so you can just buy something, put it on, and.
Oh, not like if it breaks down. I mean, like refilling.
Oh, so it'll tell you when the tube is done. You just take it off and put a new one on. The tubes will come in a nice package, and they'll be very easy just to plug in.
So you go to the supermarket, you fill it up with ground beef.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can also fill it up with your own recipes too. So they're refrigerated. They're refrigerated tubes, so it acts like your refrigerator as well. So you can, one of our technologies also is that you can put a cucumber, some lettuce, different ingredients for a dumpling, and then it combines and chops them all into another tube, and that tube goes up again and dispenses dumpling filling.
Have you made anything else besides peanut butter and jelly yet? With your butter pet?
We are working on, there's pancakes, and we're working on dumpling. Is going to be our next use case.
That sounds hard. Does it fold it in things, or does it?
We have a couple things. One of them, I know someone that wants to open a dumpling shop, and she, we have some ideas for.
Soup dumplings?
They're going to be sort of like space food. There's a question in the back.
How are you going to get it to the ISS?
Well, we will go through a scheduled flight. First, we'll contact them, make sure that it's okay with them. We'll do as many initial tests that we can here to make sure that it's safe to go there. But we'll just contact a launch company that can take it there.
This would be great if you had a video of it working. It's just a little hard to conceive.
There's a video on our website.
Seems far out there.
There's a video on our website.
Can you make a spacesuit dumpling that doesn't have a dumpling because the suit will stay in the ball in space?
Yes, totally.
That'd be
That's a great idea. Mm-hmm. That should be our first space application. Awesome. Yes?
John, have you looked at targeting the healthcare industry with this? Because, I mean, there are definitely use cases for people that require special diets.
Yeah.
If they most operative.
Mm-hmm. I think it could apply to all, we say commercial version, it could apply to all institutions, any type of company. That's a good idea as well. Mm-hmm. Yes?
You reach out to any food colleges like Culinary Institute of America or anything like that to collaborate with you on it?
That's our next plan. We want to give one to a school so they can start developing recipes.
Do you have like margin or buffer built in? I mean, if you're going to go through cases to get on ISS, you've got to be space qualified and all. There's zillions of safety requirements that can read Wicker everything.
Yeah, that's definitely a major challenge for us. It's not our first phase, so we know that's going to take some time and effort. But we will comply with all regulations to make sure that everything is safe and sound to go there.
Is it open source modular?
Our recipe database is open source. We're using open source technology. There are a couple of proprietary things that will be in our patent. But we do support the open source community, and we'll make it as open source as we can. Yes?
So on your diagram, you showed Raspberry Pi servo motors. Is this mostly just an integration of existing tech, or are there any known engineering challenges that you have something for?
80% of it is existing tech. Most of it is existing tech, just for the few things that we've invented that are kind of new things, like the low profile extruder, the zero gravity spinner, and a couple of other things, the water cooling, the cooling of the tubes.
So, yeah, thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
So next, we're taking a little break for 15-20 minutes. The judges will deliberate and choose the winner that will represent the Northeastern region in Seattle. In the meantime, there's food, there's drinks, so please help yourselves, and we'll be back in 15-20 minutes. Okay.
Y'all ready? Where's the drum roll, please? before I say who the winner is, I want all of you participants and everyone else to stick around, finish the wine, finish the sandwiches, talk to the judges. They want to talk to you. They will give you feedback on your presentation. And so don't go away, because there's still more that needs to happen, and we're all going to talk about it. But the winner of the Northeast Regional Business Plan Competition is Kepler Communications.
Yes.
Hey, I'm Canadian dollars, so
The exchange rate's a little low. I actually had to change some of the things on the slide to make it in American.
Should give you, if you want to say a few words or.
Sure, I hadn't.
I just want to say, you okay back there? Yeah. These guys came down from Toronto today.
It's an hour flight.
It's an hour flight. Well,
you did get up at 6.
Did you take Porter?
It's
Air Canada.
Anyway, we really appreciate you, first of all, watching the news, knowing that there's these kinds of things out there, and yeah, making the trek down to New York. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much. Do I have to say something?
If you want.
That's okay. Thank you.
That's fine. Great. Okay.
Yeah, so with this, we would like to close the event. And once again, we'd like to thank the judges for coming here. Also to the NewSpace NYC team that put this event together. And to all of you who have been part of this community. So our upcoming events, next week, we will have a talk, one of our private talks, about the space ecosystem in Silicon Valley. So if you're here in New York, please join us next Friday from 6 to 8 p.m. We're planning a series of events to the end of the year. And we'd like you to also suggest things that you think would like us to do, and also like, in which way you would like to help. We could help. So please feel free to reach out to us, approach us, suggestions, recommendations, complaints, and we're here to help. And thank you very much.
So this is probably our last big event for the year besides the Space Talks, and I just wanted to kind of recap where we've been so far this year. We had Rocketstar come for the Space Sharks, the first pitch competition that we did, and we've already seen how far they've come, and it is really far. Once the launch happens, it's going to be really cool to see. And all the other companies, Fiat Physica, he left, but they already launched on a new platform, which was feedback that Chad gave him at the first Shark Tank event that we had. Final Frontier Designs, they got a NASA contract. So this is our first year. Our birthday was October 17th. Oh,
We just helped them test that spacesuit in Ottawa last week. Teachers in Space had a teacher and a graduate student on the test flight.
Yep, Liz Kennick, another mover and shaker in the community.
Those photos on Facebook were great.
So yeah, we're this was our first year. Our birthday was October 17th. Next year is going to be even better. We just had our first equity deal with Food by Print. So
we're an official company of NewSpace.
And our first paid employee, part-time, Sadia. Yeah, so we're moving forward. We're really excited. There's an obvious trend happening, and we're really honored to be the people taking care of it. So.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike. Okay, thanks everyone, and please stick around.